Hello and a very warm welcome to you, my dear students. Today I'm going to teach you with the fourth chapter of Civics, that is the Indian Judicial System. Now this is your last chapter for your second unit test. But please remember, all the chapters that you'll have for your unit test, you'll also have it for your finals. Now, as I mentioned again and again, my dear students, that civics is something which is interconnected with one another. In our previous chapter, we already discussed about the legislature and the executive. Now, if you remember, when we discussed about legislative, I discussed that what is legislative? It is a law-making body. So what is being done by the legislators? They make laws. Now, what is the job and the responsibility of executives? Executives, they implement the law. And finally, what is the duty or the responsibility of the judiciary? The judiciary implements justice. See, have a look, my dear students. Again, it is teen ka funda. Legislative makes law. Now, let me put you in a form of a small story so that you understand. Now, let's say we have the prefects. We have the teachers. So, what is the responsibility of the teacher and the prefect? To maintain discipline in the school. Now, let's assume that these are the law-making bodies. So what if the child is coming late to school? Remark in the calendar. What if somebody is talking in Hindi? He needs to, pay a penalty. Law is being made, right? In the case of the legislature, what is the responsibility of the executive? To implement the law. So let's assume that who are implementers? The prefects, the head boy and the head girl. Now, a boy, let's name the boy as A. Boy A is being caught by the prefect and is being brought before whom? Before the justice. That is, let's assume this is as a principal, headmistress ma'am. So what is the responsibility of the headmistress? She will listen to that person. She will listen to the prefect and accordingly she will do justice. Are you getting it? So there are three bodies. So which we have already discussed: the legislative, we already discussed about the executives, and today, my dear students, we are going to talk about the Indian judicial system. Now, what is Indian judicial system? It is nothing, my dear student, but it is Bharat ka न्याय या उसकी प्रणाली जो बोली जाती है. So we are going to discuss today, my dear students, in depth about the Indian judicial system. Now, you would have seen a statue maybe in some movies or maybe in certain TV serials. You will see there is one lady which stands with what you call it as a tarazu, a weighing scale. And what you find that this lady is blindfolded. She is called as Justicia, the lady of Justicia across the world, Nyay ki Devi. So what you would have observed, you would have even observed that the weighing scale is equal. That means everybody stands equal before the law, irrespective whether you are a member of parliament, irrespective you are an MLA, you are a politician, irrespective you are an actor, irrespective you are the richest person of the country, everybody stands equal before the law, which very clearly means that nobody is above the law. Is it clear to you, my dear students? So today I'm going to discuss with you about the Indian judicial system. Now, when I am discussing with you, my dear students, about the Indian judicial system, let me bring this stand a little closer. When I'm talking about the Indian judicial system, you need to understand that there are three levels of court. On the very top, I'm not going to erase this, my dear student. On the very top is Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is at the apex of all the court. It is the highest court in the country. The decision given by the Supreme Court cannot be challenged in any part of the country. That is very clear. Sir, but you said in the last lecture, if the Supreme Court gives a death sentence to a convict, he can appeal to the president. Yes. So that is his executive power of the president. But the decision of the Supreme Court cannot be challenged in any court. Below the Supreme Court is the High Court. Please remember this, my dear student. HC. SC is Supreme Court, HC is High Court, and below the High Court, there are district courts or there are session courts. I hope I'm very clear, my dear student. Again, you'll find that there is a three-tier system. Again, being the funda. Legislative body, executive body, the judicial body, and there are Supreme Court, the High Court, and the district court or the session court. Now, let me give you one more extra information, my dear students. Before the Supreme Court was being established in a country, let me put it in very simple words, my friend. A Supreme Court came into existence on the 26th of January 1950. Now, yesterday only, if you remember, we celebrated what you call it as Republic Day. So, why do we celebrate the Republic Day on the 26th of Jan? We celebrate the Republic Day on the 26th of Jan because it was this day that a constitution came into force and a Supreme Court was established in India, that is in New Delhi. There were already 3 high courts in India during the time of the British period. These high courts were established in the year 1862 and 3 high courts. Again, have a look, my dear students, Teen Ka Funda. And these 3 high courts were established in BMC. So what is BMC? Not Brihan Mumbai Corporation, but B stands for Bombay, M stands for Madras, and C stands for Calcutta. In the year 1862, my dear students, 3 courts were already being established. Where? In Bombay, they were called as presidencies. Bombay Presidency, Madras Presidency, and Calcutta Presidency. So the 3 courts were already being established. Are you with me, my dear students? So when these courts were being established, what was the responsibility or what is the responsibility of the court? The responsibility of the court is to dispense or rather to give justice. In Hindi, उसे कहते हैं हम इंसाफ. So you need to understand today the role that has been played by the Indian judicial system. Now, as I mentioned to you, my dear student, the statue of Justicia, the statue, Nyay ki Murti, you might have seen in TV serial, you might have seen in movies. Are you getting it? It is also called as Insaf ki Devi. So the responsibility of our judicial system is to dispense justice. Now, let me put you in a very simple word, my dear student. It is not possible for every ordinary person to approach the court. Sometimes the procedure is so lengthy, sometimes the procedure is so long that it takes years to gather. Sometimes the decision, by the time it comes, maybe the person who has filed the court, case in the court dies sometime. And that is why there was a very beautiful dialogue in the movie Damini. औरतें अपने गहने बेच देती हैं, लोग अपने मकान बेच देते हैं, लोग रस्तों पे चले आते हैं और बदले में उन्हें क्या मिलती है? तारीख, तारीख, तारीख. This was a famous dialogue. If your parents you ask, they will tell you, and definitely watch this movie. That is Damini. Are you getting it, my dear students? So it is talking about the Indian judiciary system, my dear students. So as I mentioned you, my dear students, there is Supreme Court, there is High Court, and below the High Court, there is the District Court. There is a 3-tier system. Please understand, my friend, there is a 3 level where the law is being dispensed. Now, as I mentioned, if you get a chance, please log on to the Google search and you can see the Bombay High Court, you can see the Madras High Court, and you can also see the Calcutta High Court. Now, the things have been changed. And as I mentioned that on the 26th of January 1950, a Supreme Court came into existence and the decision given by the Supreme Court cannot be challenged. Now, what is the system called at? It is called as appellate system. APPELLATE. So what is the meaning of the appellate? To appeal before the court. Are you getting it, my dear student? You need to appeal to the court. If you remember, when we talked about the moderate politics and we discussed about the extremist politics, what did the moderate leaders believe in? They believed in appellate system. So you appeal before the court the problem that you are going through. Now, please remember that there are 2 types of issues that are being resolved, my friend, in the court. The one are the civil matters and the other is the criminal matter. Now, please remember when I'm talking about this appellate system, now each court follow a system. If I appeal to the district court and the district court is not able, or the session court is not able to resolve my problem, I can appeal to the High Court. I again find that the High Court is not able to resolve my problem, I can approach to the Supreme Court. Now, there are civil laws, as I mentioned. Now, sir, what do the civil laws related to assault? It is related to theft. it is related to murder, it is related to harassment, and it is related to dowry, hunda. And what is civil law, sir? Civil law is related to land dispute, it is related to divorce, it is related to property deals, it is also related to what called as something very important, that is relating to the dispute that arises because of the land, which is, as I mentioned before, the land dispute. Now you need to understand, see, in the case of the people from the affluent family, rich family, people from the richer layer, they are able to get justice. They can just pay money to the court and they can hire the best of the lawyer and they can get their problem resolved. But what happens, sir, if it's a poor man, if it's a poor farmer, if it's a poor person? Even in that case, he is able to get justice, my dear student. In the cases where you cannot hire a lawyer, in that cases, it is the responsibility of the Constitution of India, which has guaranteed that it will give justice to such poor people. If you watch some of the movies, it is very clearly says that, you can go ahead and file what called as the PIL, and that is the public interest litigation. Are you getting it, my dear students? I am taking you a little bit in detail about it. I want you to understand, my dear student, that law is equal to everyone, irrespective of your caste, irrespective of your religion. Though the law may take time, many of us say that, पता नहीं कब मिलेगा इंसाफ, देर से मिलेगा लेकिन दुरुस्त मिलेगा. There is a saying in the law, if any one of you plan to become a lawyer or any one of you plan to become a judge later on at your later stage, there is a very famous saying, let the 99 culprits go free, but one innocent should not be punished. क्यों ना 99 कसूरवार छूट जाए, but एक बेकसूर को सजा नहीं होनी चाहिए. So what do you understand? The Constitution is the final interpreter. It is responsible for upholding and enforcing the fundamental rights for every citizen of the nation. The Indian judiciary system, as I said, it sees to that the system functions smoothly, though it is sometimes takes time. But the legal system, as I mentioned before, is broadly categorized into two. What are they? The civil law and the criminal law, of which I already mentioned to you before. Now, please try to understand, my dear students, that you need to realize that a judicial system is such which dispense justice, though it may take time, but it will surely give you justice. So the independence of judges has to be there. The legislative and the executive in the day-to-day functions, when they are functioning, there should be no pressure on the judiciary system. So that means that there should be no interference of political system. There should be no interference of any influential person in the judicial system. And as I mentioned, my dear student, this judicial system does not function under anyone. The responsibility of the judicial system is to dispense justice to each and every individual, irrespective of caste, irrespective of religion, irrespective of sex, irrespective of whichever society or strata that they belong to. Now you may ask me a question. So why do we need the judiciary system? Please remember, as I mentioned, my dear student, the legislature is the first body of the parliament, executive is the second body of the parliament. In the same way, the judiciary is the third organ of the union government. Now, what is the responsibility? To interpret the constitution, to protect the fundamental rights, that is in bracket you can say issues writ, to maintain the supremacy of the judicial system of the constituency. And very clear, my dear student, it is a single unified integrated judicial system in India. So we need to understand that when it is a single unified integrated system in India, what is the responsibility? As I mentioned, my dear student, many times there may be a problem between one state and the other. Many times there may be a problem, between 2 or 3 states with the other state. And in such cases, it is the constitution that plays an important role. Now, can I discuss with you the recent problem that is going on between Maharashtra and Karnataka? If you would have heard about a place called as Belgaum, or Belgaum, majority of the people in this province are Marathi speaking people. But presently, the Belgaum is the part and province of Karnataka. The Maharashtra government is demanding that it should be merged with what called as Maharashtra. So there is a conflict going on between Maharashtra and Karnataka. The matter needs to be resolved by whom? The matter needs to be resolved by the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court, it has the apex, as I mentioned to you, my dear students. Are you getting it? Okay. Now, when we are talking about the Supreme Court, it plays an important role. The High Court also plays an important role when it comes to the issues related to the state. Now, every time you cannot directly approach to the Supreme Court. See, when can you approach? If it is a small problem, you approach to your monitor. You say, monitor, see now this boy is troubling me, and you're writing my name. When monitor is not able to satisfy your question's answer, then you approach to the higher authority, that is you approach to your teacher, that is the High Court. And you realize that even teacher is giving deaf ear, she is not ready to listen, then finally you approach the headmistress. So you follow a procedure, my dear students. So in the similar pattern, even in the court, there is a system. If you are not satisfied with the lower court, you go to the High Court. Not satisfied with the High Court, then you go finally to the Supreme Court. Getting it, my dear students? Now, when I discuss about the Supreme Court, now let me make you understand as to who can become the judge of the Supreme Court, or rather who appoints the Chief Justice, in short form, also called as CJI, that is the Chief Justice of India. That is the Chief Judge of the Supreme Court, who is called as the Chief Justice of India. Presently in India, there are 28 judges, but there can only be one Chief Justice. And the present Chief Justice of India is Shri, I'm just writing down the name, Shri Arvind. Are you with me, my dear students? Bobade. The complete name of this man, the Chief Justice of India, is Sharad Arvind Bobade. I think I'll get the camera a little more closer. Can you see this, my dear student? Who is the present Chief Justice of India? It is Shri Sharad Arvind Bobade. He is the 47th Chief Justice of India. Now, every judge is appointed by the President according to the Constitution's laws. The Chief Justice of India and the other justices of the Supreme and the High Court needs to have a certain qualification, my friend. And in order to become the Chief Justice, or in order to become the judge of the Supreme Court, as I mentioned, right from the corporator, right from the Gram Panchayat, the first criteria, he or she must be a citizen of India. In the case of the Supreme Court, in order to become the judge of the Supreme Court, he must have been a judge of the High Court for 5 successive years. I'm going very slow. In any part of the country. See, High Courts are there all over the states. Okay. So he can be the Chief Justice only if he has been the judge of the High Court for at least 5 years, or an advocate of the High Court for a period of 10 successive years. Or either he should have been working as an advocate for a period of 10 years in the High Court. And last and the most important, he should be a distinguished jurist. What is the meaning of the word sir? Distinguished? He should be a well-known jurist in the eyes of the President. So it is the President who appoints the judges of the Supreme Court. The present Chief Justice of India is Shri Sharad Arvind Bobade. He is the 47th Supreme Judge of India after the year 1950, when the Supreme Court was established. So when did the Supreme Court came into existence and the Constitution came into force? On the 26th of January 1950. I hope, my dear student, this concept is clear to you. I'll definitely go little faster. I know that many of you have complained me, sir, the videos go longer, but I'm helpless, my dear student. Sometimes it is very, very important for me to cover the important points. And after this video, please watch my entire video, because I'm going to discuss with you the 10 marks paper that is going to come for your unit test. Now, you also need to understand, my dear student, that the judiciary should not work under any kind of pressure. The independence of the judiciary is maintained so as to enable the judges to work fearlessly. Now, imagine if there is a threat to the judge of the Supreme Court. Can he give justice? Can he work independently? He cannot work. So, for this purpose, the Constitution has made many provisions for the Chief Justice and for the judges of the Supreme Court. They are being paid honorary. They are being paid by the government. the salary is the highest. For your information, my dear students, you'll be surprised to know that the Chief Justice of India cannot practice after his retirement, or even the judges of the Supreme Court, they cannot practice even after their retirement. And it is the same rule and the law for the judges of even the high courts. Are you with me, my dear student? If you know certain people who already have worked as the judges, they have been given employment. No, I would say rather they have been provided with the portfolio. Recently, the judge of the Supreme Court, that is Ranjan Gogoi, was the Chief Justice of India. This one is Sri Sharad Arvind is the 47th CJI, the Chief Justice of India. Before Sri Sharad Arvind Bobade, it was Ranjan Gogoi, who was the 46th Chief Justice of India, and presently Ranjan Gogoi is the member of Parliament from the Rajya Sabha, being nominated by the President. This is all the big controversy which I don't want to discuss about. So, the judges are appointed by the President to, avoid any kind of political, the judges are experienced, the advocates, they have to work in the High Court and they have to work in the Session Court. But these are all the criteria, my dear students. Are you getting it? In order to become the Chief Justice of India. So if somebody asks you who is the present Chief Justice of India, please know this. Now let me be very clear that once you are appointed as the judge of the Supreme Court, the judge of the Supreme Court retires at the age of 65. Whereas the judge at the 65 age, the judge of the Supreme Court retires, and the High Court judge retires at the age of 62. Now, these judges, as I mentioned, they have been given the salary from the Consolidated Fund of India. Now, sir, can they be removed? Yes, they can be removed by the member of the Parliament, including the Prime Minister and the President. There is a whole system that needs to be followed. But at the same time, you need to understand that once the decision is given by the High Court or the Supreme Court, that judgment cannot be discussed by the member of the Parliament or by any parliamentarian in that case. The Parliament, for any punishment that has been given, if it is a wrongful criticism, cannot be done by the parliamentarian. That means the member of Parliament cannot criticize the judgment of the High Court or the Supreme Court. But yes, if they feel that the judge of the Supreme Court or the High Court is not working as an according to the Constitution, in that case, the judge can be removed. Now, just for your extra information, my dear student, I'll read out a small article, in the case where the judges were being removed. Veeraswamy Ramaswamy was a judge of the Supreme Court of India who was being removed, against him. There was an initiative that was being done after the independence of India. Another judge who was removed or was followed with the same proceeding is Soumitra Sen of Calcutta High Court. Proceeding was done against him in Rajya Sabha on the 17th August 2011. So these two judges were being removed, one from the High Court and another from the Supreme Court. Is it very clear, my friend? This is an extra information that I'm providing you. So the Parliament, as I mentioned before, that it cannot do any kind of discussions. Please try to understand, my dear students. I try my level best to give what I can. I will try, what best I can provide it to you. But as I mentioned that these judges can only be removed in the case of impeachment. Can you just give me 30 seconds so that, I can erase the blackboard and come back to you? Now, what am I going to do, my dear students? I'll take you to the textbook because I want you to explain actually according to the textbook. Somebody mentioned to me in the doubt clearing session, that, sir, why don't you teach, coming on the camera? I definitely teach you by using the camera, but let me be very honest that it becomes very easy when it is also, it gels with what called as with the textbook, so that, you understand your concepts are much more clear. And as I mentioned, if you have still any doubt, beta, you can cross verify it with me. Okay, student. So once again, I welcome you to this chapter number 4. As I said, my dear students, I've already discussed with you on the whiteboard, but I would like to yet add certain things. As I said, that certain things which I would like to show you on your textbook. Now, when we were talking about the Indian judicial system, I discussed that the legislature, the executive and the judiciary, they all play an important role. And the most important thing I mentioned that if there is a conflict between an individual and the state,
or with the one state and the state, if there is any kind of inequality, justice is not being done, when the common man is not benefits from value of freedom, equality and justice, what happens is, my friend, a person loses his faith in what called as democracy. Now in that line, I also discussed with you, that the law is equal for everyone. I also discussed with you the structure of the judiciary, where I said that India is a union of states, and the center and the constituent states have a separate legislature and executive. If you remember, I discussed with you about Teen Ka Funda. But let me tell you, my dear students, I also mentioned about you that I said that CJI, that is the Chief Justice of India, plays a very important role. I also discussed you as to who is the President Chief Justice of India. And in that line, I discussed with you that the judicial system not only plays an important role, but it rather keeps a person's faith alive in what called as law. Now in the next page, if you look, my dear students, this is the reason why I wanted you to have a look. This is the Supreme Court of India. And if you remember, I did mention that the Supreme Court of India was established on the 26th of January. Just yesterday, we celebrated our 72nd, Republic Day. So this Supreme Court of India, which is located at Delhi, it plays an important role. I discussed in this line that, the judges enjoy the tenure of security. In order to be a judge of the Supreme Court, I said that the year prescribed is 65 years of age, whereas a judge in the High Court remains till 62 years of age. In the same line, I also discussed with you the salaries of the judges are being drawn from the consolidated funds of India, and no discussions takes place in the parliament pertaining to the role that has been played by the judges. Now, if you look on your right hand side of the same page 80, functions of the Supreme Court, the most important point that I would like to stress here to you, my dear student, because there are certain things, which you really need to understand in detail. It is a federal court. It has the responsibility to settle disputes between the center and the states, and the state on one side and the state on the other. As I said to you, my dear student, I gave you example of Belgaum, which is in Karnataka, where the people of Maharashtra are demanding that, it should be becoming the part of Maharashtra. Now, when there is a problem between these two states, it is the main role that is then played by the Supreme Court. Now, in the last column, if you look, the question that is asked, why does the president seek the advice of the Supreme Court on any issue of public importance? See, because the president may not be from the field of law. He may not have the judiciary knowledge, and therefore it is the president, the prime minister, the council of ministers they seek advice from the judge or the judges of the Supreme Court. Now, you now come to page number 81. Now, on page number 81, what you can see is read the paragraph and write. It talks about the judicial review. Now, you don't really need to write, but I would like you, my dear students, to read this once. One of the most important responsibilities entrusted to the Supreme Court is the protection of the Constitution. Now, please try to understand, my dear students. The Constitution was drafted by Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar on the 26th of January 1950. It came into force. Now, the Supreme Court needs to protect this Constitution. And why? So that nobody can violate the Constitution. And therefore, this is the most important power of the Supreme Court, which is also known as judicial review. Now, another example that you can see here down, which has been given, I'll just try to highlight it little. The court has asked the candidates contesting elections to declare their property and income details and educational qualifications through an affidavit. Now, whosoever the candidate may be, my dear students, whether it is a local corporator, whether it is an MLA or an MP, each of them have to declare their property, the income, the educational qualification. And so why this is being done? The aim is to ensure that the accurate information about an election process, about the candidate, is being known to the voters. So there is a transparency. Are you getting it, my dear students? So this is one of the most important things. Now something very important that I would like to discuss with you is PIL. I already discussed about what is PIL. The full form of PIL is Public Interest Litigation. Now I narrated you the story about the workers who were digging the road at Chembur. They were not being able to get their wages. Now when they were not getting their wages, do you think it was possible for them to get to the court and get justice for them? But in this case, a PIL was filed and the person who was responsible to pay them had to pay them along with a penalty. Are you getting it, my dear students? So if any one of you are interested or intending to do law, can think about it. Now we will see the role of the High Court. As I mentioned, my dear student, the Indian Constitution, confers the Parliament with the power to establish a High Court in each constituent states. Now, as I mentioned, that there are 29 states, so we do not have 29 High Court. There are some High Court which shares, its bench with the other state. For example, I can give you the High Court of Maharashtra shares its bench with what called as Goa. Are you getting it? And there are many such courts which I will discuss with you maybe when you come to standard 10th, because all this has been given in detail to you, my dear student. Now you can see here the Bombay High Court jurisdiction covers the state of Maharashtra and Goa and the union territories of Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. So there is one High Court which is extended to Goa, Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu. Now, if you look at the functions of the High Court, the main function of the High Court is to supervise and maintain control over the lower courts in the jurisdiction. If you remember, I said that, if the class teacher, I gave you an example, let's assume that the class teacher is, the lower court or the district court, and you're not happy with the judgment given by your teacher. Whom will you approach the next? You will approach the supervisor. If you're not happy with the judgment given by the supervisor, finally you go to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court example I gave you, the principal, ma'am. Are you getting it, my dear students? So, the High Court plays a very important role. The governor also seeks advice from the High Court. So, why does he seek advice from the High Court? While he needs to appoint the judges in the district court, because the judges of the High Court are qualified people. Now, in the third category we discussed, see, there are, as I mentioned, it is a three-tier system, my dear student. On the top, Supreme Court, below the Supreme Court, the High Court, and below the High Court is the district and lower courts. Now, there are courts that is at Tehsil and district, that is Taluka level. The people generally go to this court, and every district court has one district judge. Now, the branches of the law in India, there are two main branches of law. I did write it on the whiteboard also. I did discuss about it. What are the matters that goes to the civil law? What are the matters that go to the, criminal law? All this I have discussed with you, my dear students. And the most important, now you come down to the last page. I discussed with you matters related to land and property, rent agreement, divorce, etc. All these goes to the lower court. If the person is not satisfied in the civil court, then he can approach to the High Court. And finally, from the High Court, he can go to the Supreme Court. The last one which we need to discuss and really look into it is the criminal law. Now, many of you might have heard, that he's a criminal lawyer. He is a civil lawyer. So when you are going to a lawyer, or if you intend, in future to become a lawyer, you really need to decide as to what lawyer you want to become. You want to be a criminal lawyer? You want to be a civil lawyer? Now, serious crimes are dealt under criminal law. As I mentioned before, theft, robbery, dowry, murder, all this comes in the criminal law. Now, the very first important thing, or the first step, is an FIR, which is also called as the first information report. Now, whenever there is any incident that takes place, you need to go to the police station and file an FIR. Okay, you go there, you find out, you invite the police to investigate the matter, and once the matter is being investigated and you are not satisfied, then you file a petition in the court. And if you know that if the charges are proved against a person, there are provisions for severe punishment, my dear student. And the last and the most important, my dear student, the Indian judiciary has made a significant contribution in the development of this country. Common people have a lot of respect and trust in the judicial system. I think you and I, or every individual, should rather trust the judicial system. आपने हिंदी के पिक्चर में डायलॉग सुना होगा, इंसाफ भले देर से मिलता है लेकिन दुरुस्त मिलता है. The judiciary in India has protected the individual freedom, the federal system, and the Constitution of India. And let me tell you, my dear students, courts have always played an important role in strengthening the democracy in India. So one cannot deny the fact that though law may take time, as I mentioned you, the famous dialogue of the movie Damini. Are you getting it, my dear students? Please have faith in the law. And though, there are lakhs and crores of matters that are pending in the court, sometimes, you start losing your faith, but have faith in the law. As I mentioned before, I'm repeating it once again. Let the 99 culprits go free, but one innocent should not be punished. क्यों ना 99 गुनहगार छूट जाए, लेकिन एक बेगुनाह को सजा नहीं होनी चाहिए. This is the philosophy, my dear students. So, I hope your concepts are clear. Now, let me once again take you to the board, that is to explain you the paper pattern to you, my dear student. Please pay attention, write your paper well. I'm wishing you once again all the best for your second unit test. So I hope your entire concept of the lesson number 4 is clear, my dear students. Now let me take you to the paper pattern for your second unit test. Beginning with the very first question, my dear students. I'm just getting the camera a little closer, more than me. I'll surely send a screenshot. I'm just trying my best. Your question number 1 is choose the correct option and rewrite the statement. You'll be given 2 sentences, my dear student. Now you don't need to write this question, but yes, fill in the blank. You need to write down the sentence. You'll underline the answer with a pencil. I hope I'm very clear. If you do not write the sentence, if you only write the answer, though your answer may be right, but you will not get any marks. I hope I'm very clear. So fill in the blanks. You're going to write down the complete sentence, take a scale and underline the answer with a pencil. Only with a pencil. You can either use a black or a blue pen, not black and blue. I said or. You can write either with a black pen or you can write with a blue pen. So choose the correct option and rewrite the statement, carries 1 marks, half marks each. Half plus half is 1. The second question number 2 is answer the following questions in 1 sentence. You have to answer the following questions. You'll be given 3 questions and you have to write how many? You have to write any 2. And this 2, that means each answer will carry 1 marks. So 1 multiplied by 2 is 2. Question number 3. Explain the following statement with reasons. You have give reason. You have to state it with reason. You will be given 2 questions and you need to write only 1. And this 1 answer carries 2 marks. So 1 plus 2 is 5 marks. Now question number 4. Answer the following question in brief. Any one. That means you will be given 2 questions. You have to write any one again which carries 2 marks. So 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, 7 marks. So you have 7 marks for history and 3 marks for civics. Now what is there for the 3 marks in civics? The first question, that is question number 5. Complete the following sentence. Like it is the fill in the blanks. You have to complete it. Half marks each. 2 sentences will be given. You have to write down the sentence, underline the answer with a pencil, and this carries 1 marks. And the last question, my dear students, I'm just trying to bring the camera a little down so that you can see it. Your last question, question number 6 is write on following concept in your own words, any one. That means you'll be given 2 concepts and you have to write any one that carries 2 marks. So 7 plus 3, that is your 10 marks paper, my dear student. Now please remember, dear students, please write your paper neatly, correctly and clearly. Please see to it that on the top, give me 1 minute. On the top, write down your name. See, follow this pattern. When you get the answer paper, write your name, your standard, your division in 1 line, and the third you'll write down your roll number.
Please beta, some of you are not doing it. And now when you are going to write, please use an A4 size paper, A4 size. Go to the general store and ask for an A4 size paper, a foolscap paper. Please beta, this is the chance for you to score full 10 on 10. And take my words, anybody who is completing the paper on time, uploading the paper on time, that is in one PDF format. I don't want 10 various PDFs. I want only one PDF. Click the picture with a very nice camera and load it on time. And all those who will load it on time and all those who will get 10 on 10, take my words, I will give you a gift. So please beta, write your paper neatly, correctly and clearly. I hope you have followed all my lessons. If you have any doubt, please don't hesitate, cross question and clarify your doubts. Many of you have my number. Those who don't have can take it down from your class teacher. But please beta, write your paper well. I wish you all the very best for your exam. God bless each one of you. All the best.